Today, Mongolia is a sparsely populated, quiet nation defined by these rolling green steppes. But in the 13th century, this exact landscape birthed a military machine that swept across everything from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe. That transformation began with the severe reality of the Asian steppe. Survival here was a constant struggle for resources, forcing fragmented nomadic tribes into a state of perpetual warfare over livestock and viable grazing land. A boy named Temujin was born into this environment in the late 12th century. His early life was defined by the murder of his father and his own eventual capture and enslavement by a rival clan. After escaping, he emerged as a brilliant tactician. He utilized a mix of calculated diplomatic alliances and coordinated battlefield strikes to systematically defeat his rivals. By the year 1206, the warring clans of the steppe had ceased their internal blood feuds. For the first time, every nomadic tribe answered to a single leader. He was granted a new title, Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. This unification repurposed centuries of tribal skill. Thousands of hardened veterans who had spent their lives fighting over grazing rights were now reorganized into a single, disciplined force, directed outward at the rest of the world. While the armies of Europe and the Middle East relied on slow, densely armored infantry, the Mongols operated as light cavalry. This mobility allowed them to cross hundreds of miles of brutal terrain in days. On the battlefield, they coordinated intricate maneuvers across vast distances, using a system of distinct signaling flags. Their primary advantage was firing arrows with deadly accuracy while riding at a full sprint, allowing them to strike and retreat before an enemy pursued. Genghis Khan first unleashed this force into northern China, breaching the massive fortifications of the Great Wall and causing the collapse of the Yuan Dynasty. When the Khwarezmian Empire in the Middle East executed Mongol diplomats, the response was total destruction. The Mongols utilized psychological warfare, burning cities and eliminating entire populations to ensure neighboring regions surrendered without a fight. This illustration of a siege shows their tactical evolution. When the Mongols encountered heavily fortified cities, they captured foreign engineers and assimilated their knowledge, adopting advanced siege weapons and gunpowder. The Mongol army functioned as a modular system, actively absorbing the specialized technologies of every society it dismantled to fuel its next conquest. The empire reached its geographical peak under Genghis Khan's grandson, Kublai Khan. He completed the conquest of China and established the Yuan Dynasty. His ambitions extended even further. Kublai sent envoys to Japan demanding they submit as a vassal state, and when they refused, he launched two massive naval invasions in 1274 and 1281. As shown in this Japanese scroll painting, the invaders met heavy resistance on the beaches, but the Mongol fleets were ultimately destroyed by severe typhoons, massive coastal storms the Japanese called the kamikaze, or divine wind. Despite these naval setbacks, the era of conquest produced an unexpected byproduct, a period of relative stability known as the Pax Mongolica, or Mongol peace. Because a single authority controlled the route from the Pacific to the Mediterranean, the risks of banditry were eliminated. This security allowed for a continuous exchange of goods and technologies. European travelers, like Marco Polo, safely crossed the continent to reach the Khan's court. The same force that dismantled every independent kingdom across Asia had inadvertently cleared the path for global trade. Security along the Silk Road was born from the total absence of any rival power left to challenge Mongol rule. Maintaining centralized control over the largest land empire in history was a logistical impossibility. After the death of its strongest leaders, the sheer scale of the territory became a liability. Vast cultural differences and bitter succession crises among the descendants of Genghis Khan began to pull the unified structure apart. The empire fractured into four competing territories: the Golden Horde in Russia, the Ilkhanate in the Middle East, the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, and the Yuan Dynasty in China. These regions eventually assimilated into local cultures or were overthrown by native rebellions, such as the Ming Dynasty uprising that ended Mongol rule in China in 1368. While the Mongol political machine collapsed almost as quickly as it rose, its era of devastation permanently rewired the globe. It acted as the catalyst that first linked the economies and cultures of the East and West.